I took... Okay. I'm good. All right. I think I'm on. I think it's happening. Still getting all used to all this high technology stuff. Give me a horse and I can train it okay, but all this technology is still challenging. Tonight, I hope a lot of you join, and thank you so much. Our membership is up to like, I don't know, almost like 1,650 people. It's just amazing. So, just so thrilled everyone is excited about this. And again, I can't stop. It's like literally like having a new puppy. Like I can't stop playing with it and touching it. So this has just been awesome. I'm so glad you're all here. Tonight, I'm sure some of you saw the tribute that we made to Willis. And so tonight I just wanted to check in with everybody and talk a little bit about, when is it the right time to retire your horse? When is it the right time to put him down and let him go? And how can you, keep on living your life during those moments of, difficult. And I think as everyone feels, during the world today, it's easy to feel unsettled, and, we're all a little bit grieving normal life and the old normal. So, it's all about keeping perspective, and I've got a couple of great things I'll share with you at the end that help me get through difficult times. But one of the first things I wanted to talk about was retirement. Like, when is that right moment, to let your horse, enjoy being a horse again? Hopefully we don't take that too much away from them when we're training them, and we still turn them out and let them have friends and, that kind of thing. But, that moment when some of the exercises are getting a little too hard, or their bodies just don't bounce back like they used to. Things aren't getting... I need to do this. Okay. Sorry, Richard's giving me the heads up from the house that I need to have it long way. Okay. Well, then I can also see you all commenting. So there we go. Is that better? It's okay. Okay, got it. Okay. I got a thumbs up. So anyway, I've definitely had a lot of horses that have done the Grand Prix and done a great job, and then they've maybe become a lesson horse and given back. I always think there's a time in a horse's career where you're training them, and then it feels like a pretty natural thing that then they move to the next step and they become the teacher. I mean, not that they're not always teaching us and helping us grow, but that moment that they become a teacher for a young rider or one of my amateur students. And I just always feel like that's a natural, journey for the horse's life. But then, like, when is that moment that you should really stop riding them? I always have two things that come into my mind about when's that right moment. And, the first one is, like, is there still joy in this? I really attempt to live my life based on, what feels full of joy. And, if my horse isn't really enjoying what I'm doing with him anymore, and he just doesn't feel like excited about the ride, and the work is becoming kind of challenging and hard, I kind of start to think like, does he really want to be here? And that's like makes my heart sad, that he would ever, or she ever, think that about, not wanting to show up every day for the work. The other thing, and always the question I feel is, you need to be pretty honest with yourself about, is this for me or is this for the horse? My whole life has been based on doing the right thing for the horse, whether that's to speak up in an uncomfortable situation, question a trainer about the tactics we're using. Horses have really helped me find my voice on, speaking up for them, because they have no voice. So I think that moment when you're contemplating retirement with a horse, I think it's a big piece of asking, like, am I riding you for me, or am I riding for the horse? And I think that's always one of the big things. Like, if there's no more joy and I'm riding the horse because I want to ride the horse, then, I think that those answers become pretty clear at that time. I was thinking about starting this discussion today with reciting the Rainbow Bridge, and then I thought there's no way I'm going to get through that without crying. As you could tell from my tribute, I choked up in that too, so, that is real. And but I did find a good quote, and it is from Alfred Lord Tennyson, and it's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. And so for me, that's, when we talk about loss and death and knowing the right moment to, let a horse be free, or a dog or a cat even, we always say, like, you will know that right moment. And like with Will, there was a moment that he had gone down in the pasture, and I knew the time was coming soon. I made a big effort to drive down and see him like 2 weeks ago, because I thought, he's like 35. Like, this is amazing that he's living this long. And, like from the tribute that I hope everybody watched to celebrate Will, for the last 10 years, I would go to Toys and teach a clinic, and I would, teach the clinic and stay focused on what I was doing, and then I would groom both him and Chip, or at the time when Aaron Price was alive, I would groom Aaron Price and Will, and I would cry, and I would hug them and cry in their mane, and tell them thank you for everything that they gave me, and all the wonderful lessons they taught me, and the experience I was able to gain from them. And I would cry, and I would leave, and I thought, if the time comes and I can't get back, I know in my heart that they know I loved them and appreciated them. And so then, we really got to the point of like, when is that right moment? And for Will, he was, we think, kind of wrenched his hip, and so he was down in the pasture, and, Toy calls me, she's crying, I'm crying, we're like, oh my God, this is it. And then in pure Will fashion, he jumps up right when, they're walking down, and he jumps up and he just marches right past Toy to like go up and get a drink. And then she calls me back, and she's like, oh my God, like, is this a sign that we shouldn't do it? And I thought, I could never live with myself if he fell at like 2:30 in the morning and no one could see him and he would suffer. So that for me is a big thing on when is the right moment to let them go. Is, the degree of suffering. And am I keeping the horse alive again for me, or is it the right thing to do to let them go? And when I was growing up, Gail Kelm and Wayne Kenow were amazing, and still are, amazing horse people. And, that was part of owning a horse, was knowing when to make that difficult decision to either retire them or put them down. And so that's just, a part of what we do. And I think one of the biggest things I can always say is it's okay to be sad, and it's okay to, cry. There are times I think I hold it pretty good together during the day, because I'm an optimist by nature, and I love what I do all day, and the horses are, healing for my soul every day, riding all the other ones that are still alive, and I can still cherish them. But I do think it's that doing what's always right for the horse, no matter how sad or uncomfortable it is for us. So yeah, and then the whole idea of like, how can I focus on that? Like, how can I, in the midst of my grief, how can I go on or focus on, like, we have a horse show this weekend, so how can I concentrate on that? And for me, like, I have really wonderful people in my life, and a very dear friend of mine who's also my equine masseuse and my personal masseuse, she always tells me, just always do the next right thing. And that has really helped me in all kinds of situations in my life that you feel overwhelmed or you just don't know what to do next. And she's always like, just do the next right thing. So Lisa Hickey, you have no idea how special you are. Thank you so much for always sharing that with me. And, if I, even in the middle of a test and it's kind of going terrible, it's like, just do the next right thing. What is the next right thing I need to do? I need to, pick up my reins and turn left, or if I'm overwhelmed with grief, what's the next right thing I need to do? I need to get up out of bed and go feed the horses, or, just whatever. And I think, grief, we're not just grieving, a horse's life or death. I think we grieve horses when their careers are over. I think it's something that we can't deny, that it's sometimes really sad. And of course, it's like pouring rain outside, so it's fitting for our sad talk. But another really great friend of mine and someone I respect greatly is Dr. Jenny Susser. And she would always say, like, how do you eat an elephant? And I'm like, I have no idea, And she's like, one bite at a time. And so I think when you're also dealing with something overwhelming like grief, I think it's great to just do the next right thing and eat your elephant one bite at a time. I was actually listening to a really great podcast. I listened to it actually a couple weeks ago and then I re-listened to it. If any of you are struggling out there with any grief or loss, Brene Brown, I'm just like a huge fan of her and I love to listen to her. I know she doesn't talk about horses at all, but I think everything is in relativity. And of course, horses are teaching us lessons in our lives to just be better humans. And she did a great podcast in her Unlocking Us podcast, and she spoke with David Kessler about grief and finding meaning. And if any of you out there are struggling with that, I highly recommend, getting David Kessler's book, listening to Brene Brown. She's just amazing and, can really help you. It's not about like keeping things in perspective. Like, people are losing family members to COVID-19. Like, it is a really hard, scary time right now. And, it'd be easy for me to feel like, well, I'm sad about my 35-year-old horse. Like, I don't have the right to feel sad about that. Or I don't have the right to feel sad about the loss of a career, because next week we actually have another loss. And it's not, I hope there's not a loss of any life, because that's really horrible and sad. But I am taking Fiji home to retire, semi-retire at Elizabeth Gorosco's beautiful farm in Middleburg. So we're going to take a trip up there next week. But that's also the same thing of like grieving the loss of Fiji's career, because I owe him so much. He's amazing and he deserves to, go home and be Elizabeth's teacher. And I love that for him and I love that for her. She's been an amazing supporter for me. But I can't lie and say I'm not really sad about that. Fiji whinnies to me every morning, every day. So to like have that stall empty, I know he's not dying or going away, but he's going away from my everyday life. And so it's okay to grieve that. And I think it's important to know that there's no timeline on grief. There is no, it's all relative. This David Kessler says something amazing that the biggest loss for everyone is their own. And so we can't compare it to anyone else's sadness or they lost their horse. I think we can all just be empathetic. And I always say, and I can't remember where I heard this because it was so long ago, but someone once said, you can feel your feel, surround it with love, and then let it go. So I really happy that everyone joined me tonight on my quick little talk about loss and retirement. Again, you know, when we talk about how to deal with that, compartmentalization is really important as well. I think, you know, if you can spend time and really feel the loss and cry about it, that's healthy. And do things that make you remember that memory of that horse. Or, you know, going through those pictures for me was really a wonderful walk through memory lane, and just made me appreciate and love Will even after his death. And so I want everyone to think about always just doing the next right thing and eat your elephant one bite at a time. So thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you soon. And we'll see you, I hope, on Friday at the Academy opening. All right, bye-bye.